Hello again, and it is very good to see you once again. Today, I wanted to show you the 15 books that I acquired over the past 2 months' time. I posted one of these book haul videos back in August, and but I didn't do one for September. So this is going to be over the months of September and October. These are the 18 books that I acquired. And I say acquired because 10 of them, somehow I stumbled upon them for free. I wasn't even seeking them out. Books just fall into my lap. I think I have very, very good luck with getting books secondhand. I usually acquire my books in a variety of ways. Oftentimes, I go to thrift stores every Friday. My mom and I go thrifting, and that's where I pick up a lot of my books. We also oftentimes go to church rummage sales, where churches put on a sale where they sell all sorts of stuff, home goods, holiday decorations, but obviously I'm running straight towards the book section. Sometimes I go to free little libraries. Of course, one of these books is from a free little library. And sometimes this month I just had people text me and say, hey, do you want free books? And the answer obviously was yes. So as I go through these 18 books, I'll tell you what they're about, and I will tell you how I got them, how much I paid for them, because whenever I watch a book haul, I always very much like to know how much somebody paid for them. So let's get right into it. I think to do this video, I will start out with the cheapest books that I paid nothing for, and I will work my way up into cost into one that I paid $5 whole for. That's big for me, because usually I don't seek out books and actually buy them on purpose, but one of them I did buy off eBay on purpose for $5. So I'm gonna work my way up. So we're gonna start with the free books. A friend of mine that's in a couple classes with me, we are interning at various high schools in the area, and he texted me and he said, hey, there's a stack of free books in the office. Do you want me to bring you some of these? Yes, absolutely I do. So these are the 3 books that I got from that text exchange. First off, I got The Power and the Glory. This one, I'm very, very excited about the premise of this. So in this story, a very anti-theological group rises up. I believe they're called the Red Shirts. And whenever the Red Shirts rise up, they kick out all religion. Christianity is outlawed, Catholicism outlawed, and all of these priests are being rounded up and killed off. And so there is one final priest, and he decides that he is too human. He is too human to become a martyr, and so he runs. And so he is this last priest on the run from this regime that is taken over in this Mexican city. That sounds so interesting. And I later looked up reviews of this book, and they seem to be pretty positive. So I am very excited to get into this one. Next, I got Absalom by William Falkner. This will be the first Falkner that I have read. I have Go Down Moses on my shelf, but I think I'm more excited to get to this Falkner first. So Absalom is about a man who wants to kind of make his own dynasty in Mississippi, I think in like the 1800s sometime. And so he wants to make his own dynasty, but his sons tear this down right before his eyes. And then the sons kind of battle with the psychological downturn of, I screwed this up for my father. I think that is the general storyline on here. But I know that William Faulkner is one of the American greats, and somehow I have just not gotten to him yet. So for free, I got Absalom. Next, also from that same text message, I acquired the Things Fall Apart. And this is a book that I read in high school, but I didn't really read it. And so now I have the opportunity to read it with some fresh eyes. So this is just kind of anti-colonialism, and it is set in Africa, and it is kind of just how this African society kind of changes as colonialism starts to take over their area. That's all I got. I will say that I did have to read this before, and so I guess I know bits and pieces of it, but I don't really remember much about it at all. So I think that this is an important one for me to return to some years later. And next, a couple weeks after he got me those 3 books, the same kid texted, "Hey, there's more free books in this pile. Do you want some of these?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely I do." And so I got 3 books from him that second time around. And I think a lot of you will be very happy to see these books, okay? Because for free, I got The Fellowship of the Ring. I got The Two Towers. And I got The Return of the King. So that is the entire Lord of the Rings series for free. And so in the top 10 books of all time video that I posted last week, I got many comments that said, "What? Lord of the Rings isn't on there?" No, because I haven't read it yet. But now I can finally read them now that I've acquired the entire set somehow for free. Last Christmas, I gave my brother the Hobbit book, and he has yet to touch it. He's yet to read it. I think he forgot that it exists, so I might take that back from him, and then I will have the entire set. So I'm usually not a fantasy reader at all, but I think if I am bound to like any fantasy, it will probably be The Lord of the Rings. Next, at this point in time, I have a lot of unread books because I thrift all of my books, and so who am I to deny a book for like a quarter or $1 or free in some of these examples? So I have a lot of unread books, so I'm not seeking out to buy books very often. So on a day where I was thinking, oh man, I have so many unread books, I should stop getting books, I was driving to class, and on the side of the road was a box full of books on the side of the road. So again, fate just wants me to have free books. So in this cardboard box full of books on the side of the road, I got A Tale of Two Cities. Now, again, Charles Dickens is just one of the greats that I haven't really read before. And so I know that this is set during the French Revolution. That's about all I know about this story, though. So I am very excited to get into some Dickens because his work kind of seems like it would be daunting, but I think that once I start it, it won't feel as daunting as maybe it does before. You know what I mean? So on the side of the road, I picked up A Tale of Two Cities. Next, as I said earlier, my mom and I go to a series of thrift stores every single Friday together. That is our bonding time. And so outside of one of these thrift stores, they have a free bin of stuff that is kind of just too junky to sell. So whoever wants it, just take it. So I got these 2 free books out of the free bin. So the first book that I got from the free bin was John Steinbeck's The Pearl. Now this is another one that I read in high school, but I don't really remember much of it. What I do remember about The Pearl was just the sickening feeling that it left me with. So I would like to dive back in and see what made me feel like that before. But I know that this is about a very, very poor family that stumbles upon this very valuable pearl. And just having the pearl within their family kind of makes things a little bit toxic. So that is what I know about that. I love John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck has become one of my favorite authors of all time this year, so I'm very excited to get into one of his little tiny works. And in that same free bin, on that same day, I also picked up The Crucible. Now, I don't know how positive I feel about The Crucible, because I know that this is an important book that, you know, is very high up on the important books lists. But the thing about The Crucible is it is a play, and oftentimes of the plays that I've had to read, I don't know how much I like that format, but I think again, that this is an important read, and so how could I deny it for free? And so if I don't end up liking it, I'll just put it in a free little library or something for someone else who might enjoy it more. But I will try this out, I promise. And then lastly, speaking of free little libraries, in a free little library trade-in, I picked up Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking. Now, I read Joan Didion's Blue Nights earlier this year, like 2 months ago, really. And I read that for actually my first ever YouTube video a couple months ago, where I read 5 books in 5 days, or I tried to read 5 books in 5 days. And so I read Blue Nights for that, and that was my first ever Joan Didion. And so I was very excited to find The Year of Magical Thinking, because I feel like either this or Play It As It Lays are probably her most famous works, so I was very excited to see this. Though I think that it is thematically kind of the same as Blue Nights. So The Year of Magical Thinking is Joan Didion reminiscing on or mulling over the death of her daughter, which is exactly what Blue Nights was about. And then I guess her husband also died or had some sort of traumatic medical thing happen to him. So I don't know, but Joan Didion is one of those big writers, I think, from like the 60s. So I was very excited. I traded this in for something of equal value because I don't take advantage of free little libraries. So I traded in and got The Year of Magical Thinking. So that is the 10 free books that I acquired. And next, we have the ones that I actually paid money for. And so these next 4 I acquired at the same church rummage sale. There is this one church that has a very, very big sale twice a year. And it is probably one of the biggest sales in my area. And what I think is weird, though, is they sell their books by the inch. So whenever you're checking out, they put your books up against a ruler and say, oh, 4 inches, that's $4. I don't know how I feel about that sales tactic. I don't think I like that sales tactic very much, because especially one of these books is very, very big. But I still got a very good deal. But I would prefer a flat rate sale, but that's okay. So for roughly 50 cents, I got Beowulf. Now, this is I think this is kind of like the first, one of those most oral, like passed down from generations, epic, kind of like poem styles. And it was finally written down, I think, let me look. So this was likely written between 700 and 750 CE, so some of the earliest years. And then it was, I think the surviving manuscript, like the first surviving manuscript that we have, is from year 1000. So this is a very old book. And it is one of those epic hero poems, and it is about a man who is so very brave, and he takes on this monster that is terrorizing this king's castle and his community. And so this is another one that I read in high school, and I remember I loved this in high school. I thought this was great. And typically, great poems are kind of a hit or miss with me, but I remember loving this in high school. And so I think if I enjoyed it in high school, I could probably appreciate it even more now. That was a hit for me. And so I paid about 50 cents for that because I paid by the inch. Next, for 50 cents at that same sale, I got Grendel. This is kind of building upon Beowulf. So Beowulf, again, is a generational oral great poem. And Grendel builds upon that years later. This is a more This was from 1971. So this is a lot later than year 1000. But Grendel is the monster in Beowulf's mother is named Grendel. And so this builds on top of that Beowulf story. So I assume that it is about the same man, Beowulf, fighting Grendel. I think. I guess we'll see whenever I read it. But I thought it was interesting to kind of piece these together and build them as one continuous story, even though one was written about a century after the other one was finally written down. And so at that same sale, I got Ayn Rand's We the Living. This is Ayn Rand's first novel, and it is set in post-revolutionary Soviet Russia. And it is kind of looking at collectivism versus individualism, and it follows this young girl who wants freedom under this regime as she kind of has relationships with various characters that kind of represent different factions. I think that this will be a very, very interesting and exciting one to get into because I really, really love the Soviet era literature. I'm gonna love this. And then also for 50 cents, roughly, I got Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. Now, this is probably her most famous work, and obviously probably probably her biggest, because even though this is a mass market paperback, it is still huge, and the text is so small. So whenever I pick this up, it's going to take me a very long time. But this is overall about a man who claims that he's going to stop the world from spinning, and he does. And it is kind of just looking at Rand's philosophy of objectivism, and it's about the rebirth of a man's spirit. So I again think that this is going to be a very interesting one that I am excited to get to. So those were the 4 books that I got from that sale. The 2 Ayn Rands, and then the 2 Beowulf and Beowulf adjacent. Next, I believe... Okay, the next 3 of these I bought at Goodwill. First off, and I'm so excited about this that I plan on reading this by the end of the year. This was in my 10 Before the End video a couple weeks ago. And so Travels with Charley is another one by John Steinbeck. But this is kind of a more non-fictional memoir style than his typical fiction books. And Travels with Charley is about him hopping in his car with his dog named Charley and just driving across America. And Steinbeck is one of my favorite authors. So I think that one that really taps into his own mind and his own experiences is one that I'm very much excited to get to. So my jaw dropped when I found this, and I paid $1 for it. Next, I got, also from Goodwill, Larry McMurtry's Horsemen Pass Me By. And so Larry McMurtry is the same author as Lonesome Dove, which is my first or second favorite book of all time. It's hard to place it, but probably my second favorite book of all time is Lonesome Dove. And so the other day I was at Goodwill and there was about 1,000 Larry McMurtry novels, but the only one that I decided to bring home with me was Horsemen Pass Me By, because none of the rest of them were speaking to me, or they were sequels to books that I wasn't planning on reading a series. So not greedy, I only took one home. So Horsemen Pass Me By is McMurtry's first novel, and it is about a kid named Hud who is working, or no. The kid is named Lonnie. So it's about a kid named Lonnie who is working as a field hand on his granddad's ranch. And Lonnie becomes obsessed with this older guy, Hud, who is just charismatic and nonchalant and has his way with women. And Lonnie just becomes infatuated with this guy. So again, I'm super excited to get back into some McMurtry. I typically don't read many Westerns, but something about the way McMurtry does it, it's going to hit the spot every single time. The next book that I got, and this is definitely the most modern of the bunch, is The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. This one is about a family who everybody's a bit of a screw up. Everybody has problems in this family, and the main purpose of this book is to go back in time and nail down when everything went wrong. Like, is there one single moment that is a reason why everybody in this family is such a screw up in general? And so I've heard from other reviews of this book that it kind of works in like a cyclical motion that, you know, kind of tightens, the narrative gets tighter and tighter and tighter until it kind of pops at this one moment at the very end. That sounds like a really good, you know, narrative structure. So I am really interested to get into this one. I think this was written in like 2023, I believe. So yeah, 2023. This is definitely the most modern of the bunch, but I'm excited to get into it. And then lastly, this is the book that I seeked out on purpose, and that is Bastard Out of Carolina. I read this with my book club that I have at my library, and I checked this out with the library, and I read my library copy, and the moment that I finished that book, I thought, okay, I need my own, because I know that this is the type of story that I am going to be looking back on for years and years and years to come. I could not get enough of this story. I could not get enough of the writing. So good that I went on eBay and I paid $5 for this copy. And $5 isn't that bad, so it was okay. So I paid $5 to get Bastard Out of Carolina. This is about a young girl living in the South in like the 1950s, I believe. And her life is pretty hard because, again, she's just this poor girl from this poor family. You know, she's a bastard child who doesn't have her father in the picture. And she also has this stepfather that just abuses her entire life. So this girl's life is really, really hard. And I think that it's a fantastic representation of what it was like to be poor in the South during this time. And the writing was just so raw and beautiful and enraged. And it was so good. So I paid $5 for this, and that is probably one of the most expensive books on my shelf. I love this story. So those are the 18 books. Those are the 18 books that I acquired in the month of both September and October. And I acquired them from a variety of sources. But these are books that I'm really excited to get into. And I couldn't help myself in some regards. But so if you want to tell me if you've read any of these books before, I'd be very interested in knowing whether you like these books. I know that a couple of you guys really like Lord of the Rings. So I am really excited to get into that one. I will definitely be reading that series in the new year. So tell me if you've read any of these. Tell me if maybe any of these interested you. So maybe we can kind of read them together at the same time. And if you want to have, a book haul like this, I think I paid $10 for these 18 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay, so I paid $10 for these 18 books. So if you want to have luck like me, you should check out your local thrift stores. You should check out if any churches in your area are running any rummage sales anytime soon. And also maybe just have friends that know you like to read and will be an agent for free stacks of books and will let you know when there's a free stack of books to be had. So I just wanted to share those books with you. Let me know if I should prioritize any of these over any of the others. But long story short, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Sunday. See ya.